Oftentimes, we find ourselves at a crossroads in life where we need to make tough decisions. We may need to make a decision to take us down a path of freedom and personal liberation, or a decision to leverage the utility of a situation and act in our own best interest regardless of its cost, or even a decision we think is one that is morally in the best interest of the majority of the parties involved. These decisions are all important. They may bring us closer to people who we never thought we'd be close with, but most importantly, they may cause us deep regret and agony over parting ways with the ones we love. God, I didn't know how real that sounded until I just read it back, but it's a fairly accurate representation of the choice system in triangle strategy, and I'm here to talk about all the decisions we have to make as the protagonist and how they may impact the story moving forward, as well as some speculation over the long-term repercussions these decisions may have. If you're as excited for Triangle Strategy as I am, make sure you subscribe and stick around since the content and analysis is just getting started here on this channel, and I'd love to have you all along for the ride and hear your opinions in the comments. I read all of them and try to respond to as many as I can. Alright, so just a short disclaimer for this video, this is all conjecture, based on the 2 demos we've had released so far, as well as all the trailer information that we've gotten. I haven't looked too deeply into datamines or any real potential spoiler information, so I'd also appreciate if you don't share that level of detail in the comments too, but what you can share is which side you think you're going to go down and why you think that. I'm definitely interested to hear your perspectives. So Triangle Strategy is a game that tells us a lot just by virtue of its title. I know it's a meme at this point and a lot of people hate it, but if we look at it, here I see it to be a way to represent the 3 angles, haha, get it, triangle, of strategy that you can employ in your approach to the game's story. There's a lot of emphasis in the trailer around the tri-scale and the 3 convictions, and we even got 3 trailers, one for each one of our 3 main components, and they seem to line up one of the convictions with one of the 3 characters. It's all triangular, if you get what I'm saying. Anyways, I'll start off by talking about morality first. This seems to be the choice based on honesty and having a core sense of justice that causes the least amount of harm and is represented primarily by Roland from what I can see in his trailer. The trailer specifically depicts requesting the aid of Hyzant after S-Frost invades Glenbrook. It seems to give you a choice here, exposing Hyzant's illegal trades, or you keep quiet to ally with them and have them help you take back your nation. There are also 2 key figures here to be aware of, Hyzant's ministers Sorcely and Exharm. I'm not sure if either of these will be recruitable at all, though I am leaning towards Exharm most likely being recruitable just by virtue of his likable and well-adjusted nature, and him seeming to be somewhat morally aware of life. Exharm is a swordsman class unit who is mounted just like Roland, giving him a weakness to spears, but instead he uses a one-ranged sword and has a skill called Sandstorm that completely cripples enemy defenses. Sorcely, on the other hand, is a bit of a weird unit in the short sword class. He only has 3 move but has high magic attack despite not having any magic to use as far as we can see, and he has the Sleep Dagger skill, and that's pretty much all we can see. I want to assume that making your moral decision here will dictate who you are able to recruit, or at least whether or not Exharm will join your side, so this seems to be the first place where the moral decision makes a difference, as opposed to the utility decision being keeping quiet about the wrongdoings in order to benefit yourselves. One other scenario that is currently a bit up in the air is the first ever decision that we have to make in the game, which is going to S-Frost or Hyzant, which is the one we see in the demo. To me, right off the bat, it seems like this is an easy split between S-Frost for the moral option of getting to know the in-laws, and Hyzant as the liberty option in allowing Frederica the freedom to go there and learn about her mother's people and experience their hardships firsthand. There's a split in the recruitables here, in Rudolph being a hunter with a bow and setting traps if you go to S-Frost, and Corentin being an ice mage who can attack with both single target and AoE damage, as well as create ice walls for crowd control. The last thing in terms of morality I want to talk about is the potential to lose units. Given that Roland is the person who is morally aligned, I feel the need to highlight the fact that it may be possible that if you do not have high enough morality or make too many choices against what he wants, he might leave you in order to carry out his own plans. This brings with it the possibility of also antagonizing the people who are close to him, such as Huette, Maxwell, his siblings Franny, and Ophelia. There are all these things to keep in mind as you make decisions that may cause you to stray from the path of morality and down the others, which brings me to the next path. Liberty. Liberty is often a pitfall. True freedom is not always beneficial, but a world without it is one we can't easily live in either. Our representative for liberty is Frederica, who is the half-sister of the Archduke of Esfrost. Her mother was a concubine and from a race that has been discriminated against and enslaved within Hyzant. Frederica seeks to discover the secrets of this race called the Roselle, who she is descended from, and set them free. Her character trailer, which is also the trailer for Liberty, seems to highlight that House Wolffort has won the alliance of a great nation and finds their star rising. I take this to mean that they've allied with Hyzant after the invasion of Glenbrook. However, it seems like they must give up the Roselle, who are somehow being hidden by House Wolffort, if they are to keep the favor of Hyzant. Now, again, this is merely conjecture, but part of me wonders if this is directly linked to the prior choice in the morality section, where we could choose to not expose the salt trade crimes and instead ally with Hyzant. It's very possible that you need to turn a blind eye to this in order to get to the next decision that we are talking about here. Regardless, the decision itself is very clear. Do we continue to turn a blind eye to the actions that Hyzant carries out on the Roselle in order to preserve House Wolffort's alliance, or do we finally go against them in order to save the Roselle? In the trailer, there are a lot of interesting things here. There's a Rosellan spear warrior that seems like they'd be recruitable if we side with the Roselle, but there's also a line by Frederica where she is telling Serenoa that he is going down a path she can't follow, which also shows her casting magic against him from a previous trailer. Now, I don't really know what this means down the line for sure, but it seems that, like I discussed earlier, there's a potential for Frederica to leave you and hand you divorce papers if you decide to cheat on her convictions with someone else. Honestly, I wonder how divorce laws work in Norzelia. Does she get like 50% of Wolffort Castle along with that, or what? I guess that doesn't matter, but this would be really interesting, as it seems like she would most likely pull Gila with her when she leaves. I also loosely see Avlora as a character that you may be able to convince to join your side, and given the Esfrost link, you may need Frederica to facilitate this. Though, interestingly enough, in another trailer, Avlora can be seen talking to Ophelia, who is Roland's sister, telling her that she understands exactly how she feels, so this might not be as cut and dry as I thought initially. Dragan is also a character of note who has captured the hearts of many, including mine, and considering how he and Frederica undergo similar discrimination due to their bloodlines, I have to also wonder if he is potentially someone you'll be able to recruit if Frederica is around to persuade him. Regardless, this path seems to be far more interesting than Roland's morality path, and this might be the one that I choose to go down personally, as I'm interested in fire mages and Dragan, and I'd like to learn more about their stories. The last thing to talk about here is the utility path, which also got its own trailer under the banner of Benedict. I know I just finished saying I wanted to side with Frederica and Dragan, but if I'm going to be real and go with what choices I would personally pick based on my own thoughts, utility would probably be the one for me. Benedict is a man who will stop at nothing to achieve his goals, and his path very much seems to dance in the gray area. Like I discussed earlier, this can be something like turning a blind eye to the illegal salt trade mentioned in Trailer 1 in order to gain allies who can help you achieve your goal. However, like in the previous two trailers I mentioned, this trailer also gives us another route split choice selection that we seem to need to make. We see that House Wolffort is retaking the capital from the enemies who seized it, and we have three ways to go about it. The first is destroying the floodgates to make the battle easy, but at the cost of sacrificing those who live within the city. The second is sneaking up on your enemy at night and ambushing them, while the third involves burning down the bridges and sieging the castle over time. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure which one correlates with which conviction, but if you're gonna ask me, it feels like flooding the city is the one that is most likely to dance the morally gray area and align with utility. Roland is seen voicing his opinion that brute strength isn't the only solution and putting forward the option to sneak in at night, so I want to assume that that one is the morality option, which leaves burning the bridges and surrounding the capital as the liberty option where diplomacy is employed, as seen by Gila being the one to voice that in the trailer. We can also see Exharm in the cutscene that presents the choice to sneak in and ambush the enemy, so I have to wonder if this choice is locked unless you ally with him to expose the salt trade or not. It'll be very interesting to see how our prior choices will affect the future ones, but in general, this scenario seems to take place after the ones I discussed previously. This trailer also reveals that Benedict seems to have failed in a prior mission of protecting and guiding House Wolffort and will do everything in his power to make sure he never fails again, even if it means opposing his allies. I think this route is going to be the one where we will very possibly have to lose Roland and or Frederica, and if we don't side with him, we might actually have to kill him, as he has an "over my dead body" quote as well. Well, I mean, I guess now that I say that, you might actually have to part ways with all of them, or side with one of them eventually. In an earlier trailer we saw, like I just mentioned, Benedict has an "over my dead body" quote, but we also see a duel challenge from Roland to Serenoa, as well as Frederica telling him that he's going down a path she cannot follow. If I'm being hopeful and making a bold prediction here, I'd guess that siding with one person's ideal will eventually trample on the ideals of others, causing them to turn against you or challenge your conviction. So yeah, this is why choosing a path will probably be very important late into the game. I really don't want to get my hopes up too much on how well done and fleshed out multiple routes will be, but as it stands, this is what we've got, and that's the prediction that I'm going to make before the game comes out next week. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and make sure to leave a like and maybe subscribe to support the channel for some future Triangle strategy content down the line, and I'll see you all in another video very soon. Peace.